Hi, my name is Jamie Cabrera, and I will be doing my speech on domestic violence. Domestic abuse is responsible for more injuries to a woman than any other reason. Domestic violence is very common in the United States, and this is where any type of abuse is involved in a domestic setting, such as marriage or family, and this is a crime. Abuse is constantly happening everywhere. It's happening every minute, every hour, every second of the day. When we hear domestic violence, our minds almost immediately think of physical abuse because it is what we hear about most often. There are 5 different types of abuse, and this includes physical, sexual, emotional, psychological, and financial. A person can be experiencing all of these at the same time, like in most cases. According to the article, Safeguarding Adults, physical abuse is hitting, slapping, punching, kicking, or even hair pulling. It can also be forcibly feeding or withholding food. Sexual abuse is rape, attempted rape, or sexual assault. It can also include inappropriate touch anywhere. Emotional and psychological abuse can be put in the same category. This type of abuse is preventing someone from seeing friends or meeting their religious and cultural needs. Lastly is financial abuse, which is theft of money or possession, or preventing a person from accessing their own money or benefits. Victims of abuse rarely ever call for help, but when they do, everyone around them has a procedure that they need to follow, especially law enforcement. A 911 dispatcher is essential in all domestic violence cases. The dispatcher should stay calm at all times. They must send at least 2 officers to the scene of all domestic violence calls. The dispatcher's job is to keep the victim calm or the abuser and gather as much information as possible to give the officer when they arrive to the scene. They should ask questions like, what's the address? Are there any weapons involved? Are there any children present? Or is the suspect present? The safety of the victim always comes first. The dispatcher may suggest for the victim to go to a safe place to wait for the police, for example, a neighbor's house. According to the instructor's manual, handling a domestic violence call by New Jersey Division of Criminal Justice, the dispatcher should listen for background noises during the telephone conversation, such as screams, shouts, threats, breaking glass, or even fallen furniture. Listening and paying attention to these kinds of noises will help the dispatcher further describe the scene to the officers. An average of 77% of departments have a procedure written down for domestic violence calls. According to the 2020 Florida statute, once officers arrive at the scene, they should make sure that the scene is safe. Officers must assist the victim to obtain medical treatment if needed. They also should advise the victim of the different resources available to help him or her. This will make the victim aware of their rights in this situation. It varies from state to state if they arrest the abuser. Laws all over the country on domestic violence are all different. They all possess different criteria and different procedures. They all have something in common, and it is that their number one goal is to protect the victims at all times. Throughout the United States, there are many different varieties of laws involving domestic abuse. In some states, they encourage the officer to arrest the suspect immediately for the victim's safety. Other states may arrest the suspect if he or she committed a felony crime. According to the article, State Domestic Violence Laws, they explain the way that certain states handle domestic abuse complaints. For example, California, officers is encouraged to arrest when there is probable cause, must arrest for violations of domestic violence protective order. In New York is similar but is also a little bit different. They arrest the suspect that committed the felony right when the report to the scene. These are just two examples of how some of the states go about domestic abuse complaints. There are many different laws the other states go by to protect the victim from the abuser. Although it can escalate extremely quickly, physical abuse is not always the first type of abuse that a victim encounters. It is not always easy to recognize, as people assume. Abuse can look different for every victim, and this is a very important thing to keep in mind when trying to help someone. According to the article, What Are the Signs of Abuse? By Jennifer Casarella, she states, if your partner bullies, threatens, or controls you, these are signs of emotional abuse. She also states, your partner sexually abuses you, forces you to have sex, or makes you feel like you owe them sex. Other signs, if your partner tries to keep you away from your family or embarrasses you in front of others. Also, when they try to restrict you from working or keep your debit cards. If your suspect or someone that you know, maybe even a family member, is experiencing a domestic violence, these are some signs that it is important for you to pay attention to. Changes in personality, maybe low self-esteem, or excuses for not being able to go out. Realizing that you may need help is the first step to being able to get out of an abusive relationship. Always remember that an abuser will not change, no matter how many times they say or promise that they will never do it again. You deserve better, and you deserve a happy life, and it is never your fault the decisions your abuser makes. The decision to leave your abuser and get help, it's never an easy one, but there are always people wanting to help. If you're found in an extremely dangerous situation, do not hesitate to call 911. If you're not able to talk at the moment, they will find a way to communicate with you. If you are in no danger at the moment but would like to get help or advice, please call 1-800-799-7233. You can also chat with them by visiting thehotline.org/gethelp. All in all, it is necessary for women and men to recognize when they may need help getting out of an abusive relationship that does them no good. There are millions of resources that these victims can use to help them get out of this state. If you or someone you love may be experiencing any of these signs, please do not hesitate on reaching out to someone for help before it's too late. Thank you.